coming in kind of mid-program here? Or I know we're talking about.
No, it's a 3 test. You have to pass all 3 tests to get the certification, but
Uh-huh.
the tests they're all on different material, so you can take them in any order. It doesn't matter. You just have to pass
Okay.
them all within 3 years.
Got it.
So this is test 2. This is their standardization programs. And people, if they're going to have problems on any test, it's going to be test 2 because it's a lot of stuff on quality and other things that we don't deal with every day in purchasing. So, well, supply chain strategy, you do. Demand planning, this is really done by division planners. Forecasting, we do a little bit of that. Product and service development, that's more of the program management. And then you got some quality management, you got some logistics, and you got a little bit of project management. So they touch on a lot of stuff that we sort of use a little bit, but not every day like test 1 and 3, where it's much more familiar material. But this is a good one to get out of the way first. So standardization. Develop and or implement a material or service standardization program. So purchasing loves standardization. Why? Because we can combine volumes. And if you look at PACCAR, the one place we did a really good job with this is with fasteners. So on our trucks, we used to have 18 million friggin' fasteners on them. Every engineer had his favorite. And what they did was they said, now we're got a list of standard fasteners. And if the engineer wants to do something that's not on that list, then they got to go get permission from their ACEs, which is basically their directors. So that has helped us quite a bit in our fastener purchases. The objective is standardization simplification. It's just to reduce the complexity, basically reduce the SKUs, the number of items required to produce the products. So, all these things you can look at to help do that. But usually you have to do something like what we did with fasteners, where you have to go and ask permission to go off of the list. Procedures and steps in applying standardization. So committees administer the programs, and usually they're with higher ups, involvement of other departments. So engineering and supply management work together on the fastener standardization, and effects on production and operations. Almost always produces improvement in production because you don't have to go find as many fasteners. And effects of global operations. So, I don't know if I've been on the standardization or the fastener desk, but there might be fasteners that both us and DOF buy that we could maybe get some savings on. But you can't ship to locations, and all that gets pretty complicated, and local content laws and anything else. Raw materials and finished goods. These are places where you can apply standardization. So especially in metal, you make everybody use the same kind of grade of aluminum. Procurement and its suppliers will typically be primary stakeholders, standardizing raw materials. Engineering and operations, you got to get engineering on board because otherwise they're going to spec that stuff in. High use or high volume items focus on the parts that have a great deal of commonality, especially if you're trying to standardize between us and DOF. View parts for ones that are being considered for elimination or change. And then procurement of facilities. So PPD does this. They have a standard facility layout when they put up a warehouse. And they don't lease the land, they buy it. But, they know we're going to put a warehouse in here. They know exactly what the layout looks like. They go look for the land and boom. So all their facilities are very standard. Procurement of MRO, which CPSM guys will call maintenance, repair, and organizational supplies. Indirect items. These are all the things that are purchased down on floor 2 for us. There's a lot of standardization that can be done with that stuff. For instance, if you look at the 5 factories in North America, what type of disposable gloves do we buy? We probably got like 15 different types across all 5 factories. Procurement of services. This is also floor 2. So you'll find that these service companies will be working with the corporate headquarters, and then they'll be working with Kenworth separately and Peterbilt separately and charging all 3 of them different prices. One area of standards, what's that? One area of standardization involves a combination of contracts to receive the same rates. That's just what I was talking about. Others are outsourcing to a third party. Brand names versus generic names, especially on some of your shop supplies or your office supplies, that type of thing. And the cost benefit analysis, return on investment model is typically used to look at both cost savings and cost avoidance. And purchasing will usually use the total cost of ownership analysis and a couple of templates here. This one, oh, this is just an article from CPSM guys on what TCO is, if you got an interest. And then this is the template from MCE, I think. Come on. Give me a break. Download. Then you have all these new things here. Open file. There we go. Yeah, this is the MCE template. It's kind of cool. You can put in your numbers down here and it'll give you this graph that you can then cut and paste into PowerPoint or whatever you want to do. And you can change these things around down here. And sources of standards, so internal organizations, work instructions, procedures, policies. So for the standardization of the fasteners, it would be a policy and a procedure, I think, at the divisions. Government, how often has standards you can use, things like National Institute of Standards and Technology. We use some of these on our drawings, not the FDA or the FAA or the NRC. We might have some OSHA stuff on some of our drawings. We might have some ASQ stuff, some American Society for Quality. I know we do have some Underwriters Laboratory stuff on some of our drawings. And then international, some more standards organizations from international side. I haven't seen a lot of these on our drawings. ASTM, I've seen that. American Society for Testing Materials. And then ISO, everybody's pretty familiar with. And 3 of the major ISO ones. 16949, this is the one that deals with automotive production. And UNSPSC codes, United Nations Standard Products and Services codes. We use these as our commodity codes in GPPS. And it's good because it's a hierarchical system. It'll roll up all the types of aluminum. They have the American National Standards Institute. Engineers will use these sometimes. And then the IEEE, it's another one. And SAE, you see these on your oil cans, your types of oil that you're buying, SAE 20, 0W20 and stuff like that. The Society of Automotive Engineers, technical standards based on best practices. Associations of trade groups, so some of the standards that ISM provides is principles and standards of ethical conduct. They have like 10 ethical standards. This is nice information, but we would use our code of conduct in place of this. And then this is a group out of Britain called CHIPS, developed a set of global competencies called the Global Standard for Purchasing and Supply, much like the CPSM. All right, so we'll do 12 to 15 slides a day usually. And then we have a question or two for group consensus, and then we do the other individual questions. So standardization is best described as an agreement upon specific what?
B beta.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing you'll notice about CPSM questions, it's weird, but usually the longest answer is right because it covers the most ground. And it's just the way they write them. And number one is B. All right. So if you go out to the chat, you should be able to pull down the questions for today. I think there's like 5 or 10 of them out there. And you guys work on them. You can raise your hand and chat when you're done, or we'll go over answers at 2:25. So study group, come on. Peace. Yeah. And I guess we got 8. All right, let's go over some answers here real quick. A couple of things I also bring out. ISM, these skills that they're testing you on, it's kind of the industry average for the Fortune 500 in North America. It's what when they quiz the Fortune 500 purchasing managers, it's like, well, they should know these skills. The MCE is more specific to PACCAR. That's PACCAR management saying, we want you to have these skills or know these skills. There's a lot of overlap, but the orientation's a little bit different, where PACCARs want you to do a lot of costing, and ISM is more about supplier relationship management type of stuff. But anyway, those are some of the key points. Now, also on these questions, you'll find a lot of them, or some of them anyway, that you just absolutely don't agree with the answer. And that's fine. I mean, there's a number of them in here. But what these questions are, some old white guy like me writing the question and putting my opinion in it, and then ISM blessing that. So you just want to know how they think, whether and don't get real hung up over whether they're right or wrong. All right, so number one is Charlie. One of the standardizations is the reduction in the number of stock numbers. 2 is Bravo. ISO certification demonstrates a high level of manufacturing competency. 3 is Delta. A change in the number of movable parts in a product would be the result of a redesign effort. So you were looking for one that a not there or a negative. 4 is Alpha. ISO 14000 is for environmental considerations. 5 is Delta. Imperial or metric system wouldn't be one of the ones that you need. That's another negative question. 6 is Charlie. ANSI, the American National Standards Institute, private organization that sets commercial standards and represents them internationally. So they're the ones that you can go and ask, is there any standards for a certain thing? 7 is also Charlie. Doing nothing is the least attractive option because they would walk away from a potential opportunity. And 8 is Charlie. Because the goal of standardization is to reduce costs. So any questions on any of those? If not, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow, same time, same bat channel.
Thanks, Rick.
All right,
Thank
see
you.
you guys. Yeah.